On this episode of ResiWeek, how France is preparing for GAFA, CE Pro's State of the Industry report is now available, and ISC Insights. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek episode 105, The Fourth Trade.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Access Networks and by SDVOE, the platform for networked AV.
Welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv. And today I'm pleased to be joined by Dave Pedigo. He is the Vice President of Emerging Technologies at CEDIA. How are you, sir?
I am super. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. I always like to know how my friends and guests are doing. And speaking of friends, I've got Bruno Napoli. He is the CTO at Kirka. How are you, sir?
Je vais très très bien, Matt et Dave. Je suis très content d'être avec vous ce soir.
Parlez-vous français?
Yes. So no, I'm glad and very happy to be here with you tonight.
Thank you so much for joining us. Where Bruno is right now, it's 9 o'clock?
Yes, it's 9 p.m. here.
9 p.m. And so thanks for staying up late with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it's normal.
Staying up late?
No, it's not late. It's just 9 p.m., so it's not very late.
Not too bad. The
kids are watching TV in the room just next to me. I'm just praying that they just stay in that room.
Stay in the room.
Yes.
Where I am hoping for a all-out brawl.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, the door to fly open and the kids to come screaming in.
That will be fun. Dad, the TV is not working.
Exactly. All right, let's kick this right off with a story that comes to us from Technology Insider Group. And this is written by the one and only Bruno Napoli. How France is preparing for Amazon Alexa and the rest of the GAFA invasion. Now, Bruno was invited a couple days ago to speak attended speak at a boot camp organized by the French Home Automation Federation. And kind of the big thing, and then Bruno, I'm just going to get you to give us a quick overview of this, but essentially it seems that the big theme of the boot camp was to work on a validation for a set of specifications or standards for professional quality in the AV and home automation industry. Couple of those specifications to help you achieve that quality mark were essentially prove that you participate in trainings, be able to reply to customer requests within 24 hours, implement a mechanism to collect feedback from end users, display clearly on your website prices for installation and service, as well as provide well-documented files and just documentation of that installation. Now, the other thing that I was really intrigued with was the quote from Chris Gamble, which was about essentially explaining to clients, explaining to end users that we are like concept car manufacturers. We're not a company, we're not even like a GM or a Ford or an Opel or any of those mainstream large companies that manufacture millions upon millions of cars. We're not even the Ferraris and the Bugattis and the super specialized, where they're able to roll out 1,000 cars at a time. We handle a couple, really, in the grand scheme of things, a couple of homes, couple of clients, and make that happen. So Bruno, give us a quick overview of that event.
About the quote from Chris Gamble?
No, the event in general.
The event.
I just really like the quote.
Oh yes, sure, but that's true. Actually, we are doing custom things. That's what we are doing. So we are not. We never proved to the construction industry that we're able to handle, 500 houses the same way, provide documentation, provide service and maintenance. That's why we look like concept car dealers, concept cars manufacturer. Now, regarding this event, the AFNOR, that is the French Association of Normalization, they are created every year a lot of certification for a lot of different jobs in a vast variety of industry. And they realized that there is absolutely no certification for our AV and home automation industry in France. So they opened the yellow pages and searches for some kind of federation of association of home automation, and they found the French Federation of Home Automation. And I'm also a member of this French Federation, and they start to work together to create the sets of specification. And what's good about this is the AFNOR is very powerful in France, and they have the ability to enforce and to also make this label known to architect and the construction industry. So they are going to audit and also promote this label to the construction industry, and that's good, because, as you know, that's what I used to say to my custom installer. Time is not about to change. Time has already changed, and some professional around the world, some home technology professional around the world, they fail to realize that we are not just doing home entertainment anymore. We are literally turning houses alive. And we are doing this inside a house and also remotely. Just a few years ago, any handyman driven by passion, or if you were a DJ when you were young and you're used to connect speakers to an amplifier, you are used to lighting, you are used to connect projectors and stuff like this, you can be a custom installer and do quite a good job. The problem is, the challenge is right now, we are managing the life of people. We can turn on and turn off the alarm system remotely. We can open or door or close doors remotely, and it means that now we really need people. We really need the professional to have certifications, and we need to promote this label, and we also need to enforce this label.
Very good. Dave, this is not too dissimilar from some of the stuff that CEDIA is working on and has been working at for years, and trying to get the specifier community, whether that be architects or interior designers or builders, to understand exactly what we do. Why has it been, and I'm not necessarily asking you to give an official CEDIA answer for this.
Oh, I can give you lots of answers.
I know you
got
can.
Lots of thoughts around this.
I know you can. Why why has it been so hard to, kind of as Bruno alluded to, and as Chris kind of stated in his quote in that article, why is it so hard for us as home technology professionals to impress upon these specifiers that we're actually professionals? Because whether you do a one-off or not, that always seems to be the sticking point, is that we can't seem to prove to outside industries that our industry is professional.
Well, I think we've made some inroads on that for sure. Dave Chick, who has run the CEDIA Outreach Instructor Program and our Industry Relations Program for 12 years, actually has made a ton of really good inroads. I was just at the International Builder Show for the last, 4 or 5 years. The Top Technology Trends class that we've taught has been one of the most popular classes that have been attended. We have over 300 in the U.S. alone, outreach instructors who are going out and teaching to architects, interior designers, and builders about the value of a home technology professional and a CEDIA member in particular. In the U.S., it's a little bit harder than when in France, and this is just the way that government structures work. In the UK, as an example, the folks over at CEDIA in the UK have worked really hard with something called CEDIA guilds, which basically is their accrediting body over there. And so because of the way a lot of European governments work, you can get a government to buy in. In the US, you have a federal government, and it is incredibly, incredibly bureaucratic. And so your best way
wait, hold on. You're saying the federal government is bureaucratic?
A little. It's
fake news.
okay.
Fake news.
You ready? It's
Hashtag.
hugely bureaucratic, huge. So those inroads are difficult. And so what happens is I think for the U.S. at least the approach that we've had is it's more about relationships. And I've been incredibly, incredibly impressed with the traction that we've gained with the architects, builders, interior designers. Another thing that we did is we got our blueprint icons. We worked with Infocom and CTA to write them, and the American Institute of Architects adopted them. But it's just different in a France and the way that the government is structured versus the U.S. We could take it as a state-by-state basis, but it's also, even there, lobbyists, politicians, it's don't get me wrong, I love our government, but it doesn't make it easy for us to make inroads. I will say that we're working on an apprenticeship program that we will be rolling out soon. And that, I think, will be a big part of it, that you can say that there's somebody who is an apprentice. They've gone through 4 years of training, and that'll show us what Ray Lepper, who is our president in the mid-2000s, wanted to show us as us being the fourth trade: electricians, plumbers, HVAC/cooling, heating, and then us. And so we're getting there. I think the hard part, and I'm making a very simple question, a very long answer, is I think many people conflate the ability to easily connect one device. Like if you just put a connected thermostat in, relatively simple to do, but that's not a whole home environment. And so those are the kind of things that we battle every day.
Very good.
Matt,
yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Would you feel secure in an elevator or in a plane that didn't had its annual maintenance?
Oh God, no.
No, it's the same for a house. You know what I mean? Today, we can remotely do absolutely anything. I would not feel secure, and I'm sure that the end users, if they could realize this, they will not feel secure.
But no. Bruno, I think it takes I hate saying this, and I've said this for a few years, I tend to repeat myself on some points. It's going to take some kind of horrific accident that is going to get mainstream media press that will change people's minds.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry that it should happen, but it will also happen that one day a homeowner will have to say to its insurance company that someone entered the house, steal everything without traces of anything break, because he was just able to open everything, to turn off the alarm system, to turn off the CCTV camera, you know? So some stuff are like this are going to happen. And what if you're the custom installer who installed this, what are you going to say?
Yeah, it definitely comes down to that liability side of things, which is never fun to play with.
No.
All right, gentlemen. On that note, let's transfer over to our next story. This comes to us from CE Pro, and they have released their 2018 State of the Industry report. The best thing and the thing I'm most excited about seeing in this report is that the typical custom installation company grew their revenue this past year by 11.5%, give or take. It's the biggest gain since 2015, which isn't that long ago, but still very good things. And that it continues to a sixth consecutive year of revenue growth for smart home installers. Dave, I want to start with you on this one.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a good thing that revenues have grown, and there's a lot more data in that report that I encourage you to go register for and download. But when we start to look at trends, it's great to talk about. It's great for content for these kind of shows. But what does the integrator do with this information? If they're going to go download this, what do they take away from these kind of reports? How do they take this report and use it in their business?
Okay, that is a wonderful question. Actually, maybe one of the best questions I've ever been asked. So, Matt, you don't have to ask any more questions. You're done.
I'm done. I'm out.
So,
if I wasn't an AV professional, I would drop the mic, but I am, so I don't drop mics.
I spend a lot of time on the market research side of CEDIA. We have a size and scope study that we do every year, and so these numbers aren't surprising. Actually, what we saw in 2014, end of 2013, all of 2014, we actually saw integrators who doubled the amount of their work, or pretty close, 63% increase, and then it kind of leveled off a little bit. What you have to do with this is, well, there's a couple things, because you also have to tie the housing data into that. So if you looked in that study, they also talked about the increase in housing demand. We've seen a decrease in retrofit installs and an increase in new construction. Now, it's not like it was pre-2007, but it's a lot healthier. It's getting close to homeostasis, where it's about half and half. So one thing you have to do, you have to pay attention to the housing starts, at least in the U.S., because CEDIA is part of the Joint Center for Housing Studies that Harvard puts on, and we look at our data is almost really similarly tied to what's called their LIRA, the leading indicator of remodeling activity. And so you have to look at what is the health of the the housing starts and the remodeling industry. And I recommend everybody go after 6 months. The data from Harvard is free to anybody. It's embargoed for 6 months, so I find out all this great news and then I can't tell anybody, which is awful. But at the end of the day, then it's like, well, what's in it for me? So if I know that housing starts are, I like housing starts and also the LIRA. If those are strong, it means that the economy is kind of strong. If I start to see things tailing off, then that's a little bit of a warning bell. So it's an example. The housing crash of 2007 really started in 2005, and almost nobody knows it. If you actually go into the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and you start looking at the numbers, the number of new housing starts and new housing permits started declining quickly. It was only in 2007 when it actually started like, oh crap, this is happening. So it gives you a little bit of time to adjust, because one of the reasons why a lot of CEDIA members, well, not just CEDIA members, companies in the industry went out of business was because they were too slow to adjust their staffing sizes. You know, you get to a point when you're working at a company, especially if you're an owner, these are people that you feel responsible for their livelihood. You love them like they're your family, and you don't want to lay them off. But at the end of the day, you're not doing anybody any good by going out of business. So first and foremost is it's a planning tool. If I see that the health of the industry is going well, then I can plan accordingly. And I think the other thing is to compare yourself to the average. So if I am seeing that the average growth is 11.4% and I lost 5%, be introspective. What did I do wrong or where am I missing the mark? Or holy crap, man, I hit that out of the park. And then that also on the staffing side as well as, all right, well, we see that the industry is good, things are healthy. Maybe it is time to hire somebody else, because the last thing, and then Bruno, I'll let you get a word in here, is that the opportunity cost. I don't think a lot of people think about, okay, well, I'm on the fence. Should I hire somebody? Yes or no. There are times where you're winding up turning down jobs because you don't have the staff. So you have to be very flexible. Use this data to plan where you're going and look at the health of your company.
Very good. Bruno,
now I'm afraid of your question.
Because the last one was so stinking good. No, the question I had was, I'm not in the U.S. You're not in the U.S. You're in France. I'm in Canada. When we, even when I read all these state of the industry reports, I know as a rule, they're mostly focused kind of specifically on the U.S. Not taking anything away from that, but as someone who isn't located in the U.S., what do you take away from these kind of reports that usually are specifically focused on the US?
I think that it's almost the same everywhere. You know, we have today the GAFA that are pushing and helping our industry, and they are doing this everywhere in the world. The GAFA are giving awareness of a lot of products to end users, and it's the same. They are doing those stuff worldwide. And right. I'm in contact here in France and in Europe with a lot of custom installers, and it's the same tendency. It's the same. C'est la même tendance. It's the same tendency. The market is growing little by little, and right. It's all this because we have big players that pushing our industry, and it's very good for us.
But most people look at that as a threat as well. And by the way, I don't know, Bruno, if you saw on our Twist channel that now it's gone from GAFA to FANG to now Falgus to Falgus, which is, or Fall Gangs if you want it, which is Facebook, Apple, LG, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Samsung. But those really truly are the largest and most influential companies in the world.
And we are only talking about the company from the West. We're not talking about the company from the East.
We haven't touched Alibaba, any of the Indian companies. Yeah, it's a...
Yes. What I saw in this report that make me happy is the fact that more and more custom installers, more and more home technology professionals are getting, but not enough. It's just 10% or 15% are doing RMR, are doing remote supervision, are doing service and maintenance. It's good. It's better every year, but it's just 15%. It's still not enough.
Yeah, very good. All right, gentlemen. Last kind of story lead-in of the day. We're probably not going to dump right to... No, we are going to jump straight to the story. Meridian Audio is heading to ISE with some high-res audio in mind. They are releasing a new 4K switching solution that incorporates their high-resolution output to enable connections to existing processors, etc. I don't necessarily just want to talk about that product, as awesome as it is, and I can't wait to see it. What I want to talk about, and Bruno, I'll start with you on this one, is... You know, they release all kinds of great new product at ISE every year. Is that the focus of ISE for you when you attend? Are you most excited about the new technology that's released? Or is there something else that you look forward to specifically when attending ISE?
No, I'm going to see all the new technologies. This is what's important for me. And I also... need to let all my ears open to try to feel what's in the air. But yes, I'm always excited by all those new switching solution, high resolution audio. I know that switching system are going to have hard time because sooner or later, everything will be an app in a TV. You know, distributed audio and video will be directly a music service or a video service into a TV. So I'm a little concerned about the future of all those matrix and stuff like this.
Right.
Oh, the matrix
Dave,
switch is toast. The matrix switch is toast. We were gonna do the story on Savant. Joining SDVOE, software-defined video over Ethernet.
Yes.
I guess we're not going to get into that, but
we don't have enough time, Dave. Your answer was so long.
I know. I'm long-winded. You know. So, but one of the Tech Council predictions has been for years the death of the matrix switch, and things like SDVOE, Crestron's, IP over or video over IP. Those. Yeah. So Bruno, you're right. You should be worried about the matrix switch. It's toast. Going back to your original question, though, for me personally, so my bent is always a little bit different when I go to these shows, just because of
the nature
of my work. But well, that too. But in general, I think that so a couple things. One is it's a great way to actually experience the product. So you can go online and you can read all the specs you want, but it's a great opportunity to hear, touch, feel, And I think that's great. And then the other aspect of any trade show is also the networking part of it. And I don't mean IP, I mean the social, getting together, talking to people, listening. I do a lot of actually, maybe I'm a creeper, listening to what other people are saying when you're in a booth or whatever, just getting there, or you're walking from one to another.
Maybe?
People having conversations.
Maybe. Wow.
Well, it's how I get my intelligence. And just kind of seeing what is being talked about, those kind of things. So at the end of the day, ISE is incredible. It's an incredible show. It's going to be somewhere between 75 and 80,000 people there. The nice thing is on the commercial side is you got all these different kind of a breadth of topics, whether it's commercial, digital signage. There's a VR, and I don't think they have AR, but there's a VR platform there now, as well as the residential. So for the people in Europe, it's more common for people to do both residential and commercial work, where in the US, you specialize in one or the other. So it's an incredible show. Go touch, feel, see, hear. I think people don't spend enough time. Most people go for like a day and a half. Go spend an extra. What's it going to cost you? An extra couple $100 to have one more day at the show floor. So if you want to take a class or two, we're starting to see more people take classes. But at the end of the day, touch, feel, listen, because there's a lot of marketing hype out there. The only way you're going to figure out what's real and what's not real is by getting your hands on it.
Yes, and at the end of the day, everyone have a meeting on the Meridian booth.
Well, yeah,
yes,
of course.
Yeah. Well, since you're talking about Meridian, I will say that I got to go through Meridian's factory in England, and almost everything they make there is made in England. Holy cow, that's a great tour. If you've got the hookups, man, I would highly suggest going through the Meridian tour.
That's
cool.
cool.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. That's all the time we have for this episode. Bruno, thanks for joining us from lovely France. If people want to connect with you, find more of your writing and all the good stuff, where can they do that?
They can go on the Krika website. It's Krika, KRIKA.io. And there is a blog section. You can go there, and almost twice a month I post a blog.
Very good. Thanks so much. Dave, I know most people know where to find you and how to avoid you, but if they want to find you and they don't already know how to do that, where can they do that?
Two ways. One, you can go on the Twitter.
The Twitters.
I'm at Dave Pettigo, pretty easy, or dpettigo@cedia.org.
Beautiful. Excellent. Well, thank you guys again for joining us. For myself, if you'd like to follow me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on Twitter and every other social platform. But more importantly, please stop by AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of our other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our underwriters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out and support them as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.